We're back on Fresh Waves. I'm your host, Bren Masson. For the whole month of April, we will be talking about organ donation awareness, transplants. We'll hear the stories of all kinds of people who have both received organs donated and the stories of families who have donated the organs of loved ones, as Heather has today. It's a tough subject, but so inspiring. I mean, it's when I was talking with Toby Boulay last week, and we were talking about the good things that have come. He said, you know, for them, the Humboldt parents, it's a year, and that's still really too soon. Wow. And sometimes people feel a little weird, I think, talking about how great this is and how wonderful it is, and they forget that for you, Heather, it is wonderful, but so tragic. It's that double-edged sword that you must walk almost every time when you go to these events and things.
Yes, it's very, very emotional for me. Even though 10 years have gone by, when I'm doing this type of thing, when I'm at the transplant games, when I'm on the committee at Sunnybrook Hospital for transplant, all of those things trigger my grief again. But I have to get over that because there's something more important and there's some good that has to come out of this. And so I just have to face the fact, yes, I'm going to get emotional, but that doesn't matter. What really matters is the message that lives can be saved, and that's the most important thing. So
it is the most important thing. And Melody, to see how your face lights up when you talk about your children. I mean, there are times in a mother's life, I have 4 of them, where your children can push buttons in you that you never even knew you had. And it's lovely to be constantly, when I'm around you, I'm reminded of the beauty of children. You and I were at a table one day, and there was a person who said more than once how children were not her thing, didn't want to talk about children, just, really didn't have the time of day for them. And it hurt me to hear her say that. And then when you spoke up and talked about how precious your children are to you, and I thought, yeah, mine are just so precious.
And that was a really interesting experience, because I was reading part of what I had written, which will be included in my memoir, and she'd made it really clear that kids were not her thing, and why would she want to listen to what I wrote about my kids? And this was
if I don't want to listen to my own, why would I want to listen to yours?
And this was writing about before and when Seamus was born, and for me that is so miraculous. And I'm like you, Heather, I get emotional every time I think about it, because he wasn't supposed to be. And he and I have always been so close. And not that my daughter and I aren't, because we share living accommodation, so yeah, we're close. And but she was in tears when I finished reading my section. She was in tears. I hadn't planned that. It wasn't like, that's not my intention to make you cry. But good. I reached something. I again wasn't intending to necessarily, but there was a connection, and you heard what I was saying, which was very reassuring to me, because I get it. Not everybody's thing is kids. Just happens to be mine. I happen to love kids, and I love it when my granddaughters come over. I also love it when they go home, but that's okay. As you get older, it's harder to keep up. They have way too much energy. But kids are something, and were always important to me. So to be able to make that connection with someone else, that was pretty special.
And to think of the lines, you Heather, and for you too, Megan, I'm not leaving you out of the conversation, because you too have given organs, and you're going to give another. So that little baby that you're going to donate to, or the people that your son donated to, it's not just that one person, like you said.
No.
It's their children and grandchildren.
Yeah.
And it's growing and growing and growing. It's like a massive balloon. And the one thing that has struck me through the conversations that I've had with donors and recipients is the fact that over and above anything else on this earth, this is the thing that shows that we are all so similar. We spend so much of our lives talking about the differences in people. You have a different religion than I do, or than you do, or than someone else does. The baby that you're donating to doesn't look like you. She doesn't have big, beautiful blue eyes like you do. She has dark, wonderful, sparkly brown eyes. And we're all the same, because your organ will save her life. And it doesn't matter what color your skin is, or your eyes, or your hair, what religion you believe in or don't believe in, because the bottom line is we're all human beings. We all have the wonderful, beautiful emotions, and we're able to support each other in all these different ways. And even the differences, my grandmother always said, sickness knows no prejudice. It doesn't care who you are, what color you are, how much money you have. Sickness knows no prejudice. Wow. And neither does organ donation.
No.
I mean, that's right. You are a match for someone who is the polar opposite looking of you.
Yeah.
Exactly. Right.
And she's just
and that's
adorable.
why it is such a miracle. Because like you said, it doesn't matter. And, you know, we would have probably never met in our entire lives had it not have been this process. And now we'll be family for the rest of our life, right? And going back to what you were saying before, you know, how many years and how much more recipients are able to give. I have yet to meet a recipient in the last 21 years since Mom has become one that does not do amazing things on the daily, giving back to people, to their community, to, you know, even Mom is a mentor with Toronto General Hospital. So when people are put on that liver transplant list, because she's handled it so beautifully, they give her Mom's name and number and say, call her, she will walk you through this. And we now have friends that we consider family that we've just met through her being a mentor, right? And it's just, it's incredible. And, you know, so I have yet to meet anyone that has ever taken it for granted or, you know, not gone on to do something amazing with their life. And I think that says so much, right? Is that
and the people who I've met, the recipients, they've all had this joie de vivre, and it sounds better in French than it does in English. Love of life, but joie de vivre, you know, it just has that oomph to it.
Because every day is such
and it's infectious.
Gift. Well,
it's infectious, and you remind us every time I see you, and I listen to your memoirs, and I hear your story, and I never tire of it. I find it so inspiring. And your whole persona is all about just living life to the fullest. And I've seen you roll your eyes at people who, you try to do it discreetly, but you really miss the mark, let me tell you.
I know, I'm terrible at that.
People that are just bitching on about the dumbest things. Oh, that oven was too hot, and now the food doesn't or some other trivial piece of nonsense. And
I have no time for that. No. You know, if you want to really see something that might be complaint worthy, go to a dialysis unit or go to a chemotherapy lab.
That's right.
Go have a look at what people deal with every single day. And then you decide. I truly, you're right, Brenda, I have absolutely no time. No time for people who whine because, they missed their hair appointment or they broke a nail or they... Seriously? Get a grip. Like, that's not life-threatening. And there are people out there who live every day with life-threatening illness or have conquered it for now and make the most of what they've got. And make the most of it.
And I think it's very easy to just take this gift of life for granted as long as you're healthy and everything's hunky-dory. But when you have a life-threatening illness and come through on the other side, that's when you can appreciate.
Yes, absolutely. Well, before I went on dialysis, I was lying on the couch, and I'd been there for a couple days, and I thought, if I lie here much longer, I'm going to die. The toxins are taking over my body, and I am going to die. And I'm like, no, that's not an option. No. My kids are too young. I'm too young. There's too much to do in life. So let's move on to keeping me alive, please and thank you. But it's true. I would bet that every transplant recipient could say categorically that they have death in the eye and have said, no, not now, not now. If they're fortunate enough to get an organ. That's something they don't have any control over. But it's so clear to me that I'm going to die. No, I don't think so. So
not yet.
No, not yet. I'm certainly not ready.
Got a lot to do.
Yeah. I got to finish my book.
You've got to finish that book. Honestly, how many years has it been?
Oh, I don't know. Too many to even count. But
you are working on it.
I am. Second draft.
And you're working on a book.
Yes, and now I will be able to finish it.
Yeah, that's right.
Now I will be able to finish it.
For now.
Right.
Till the next episode.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I actually was listening to an interview with Oprah Winfrey and, my fellow cohort.
Yes, your buddies.
Show host.
Yeah.
No. But anyway, I was listening to this interview that she did with J.K. Rowling.
When the musical world...
When you know that J.K. Rowling's had all the books of Harry Potter in her brain, and she always knew that the last word of the last book was going to be Scar. And as it approached the end of the last book, she said she realized that couldn't be the last word, so she changed it, and all was good.
Interesting.
And I heard that last night, and I thought, I've got to do this show tomorrow, but it was a hard show after my interview with Toby Boulay. I thought, how am I going to do this yet again? You know what? It's not about me. It's about you guys. And all is good.
All is good. And it's not about us either. Really and truly, it's not about us.
We're the messengers.
We are. It's our job to get the message out there and to educate people that this is an important thing to be doing. This is important. And it truly is education, because people are afraid. And people are afraid because they don't have all the facts and they don't have the education. So by us being here and talking about this, hopefully some of you listeners will get educated. And if you want more information, please reach out, because there's lots of people that can give you lots of information.
The Trillium Gift of Life, they do a lot of outreach.
Yes.
Beadonor.ca. Go on the website, browse around, see what there is. You know what? If the transplant games are in Toronto, go take a look. See the people running around, doing wonderful things, living,
swimming, biking, bowling, table tennis, whatever. It's just incredible.
And they're loving life and living life and experiencing life because someone went and registered. And it's a good thing. And you don't have to be a young'un.
No.
You can be any age and register. And it was amazing the other day, and we'll be talking about this next week on Fresh Waves. I found out about the eye bank. I didn't realize there was such a thing. And they take eyes that are donated from anyone.
Even if you have cancer, you can still donate your eyes.
Even if you wear contact lenses or glasses and you have all your life, you can still donate your corneas to somebody who has zero vision.
Yes. And same thing, which I just learned last week, it kind of threw me for a loop, because in 21 years I'd never heard of this, but actually it won't just be me saving the baby's life. It will be a stranger and the cadaver as well, because she needs some added blood vessels. So they cannot take enough from me. But I had never heard of that before. And unlike organs, apparently blood vessels can live for 5 days, once the person has passed away and they've been preserved. So it's incredible. Even after all these years, I'm still learning something every single day. And like you said, even if you've had cancer or even if you've had a transplant and because of the anti-rejection drugs may not be able to donate another organ, there's always your eyes. There are the blood vessels.
Your skin, or your tissue.
The skin,
that's important to know. And the age as well. And the age as well, like you said. Perhaps 20 years ago they wouldn't have thought someone in their 70s can donate, but today they do, And what I love about these social justice days workshops is in every single workshop, at least one of the children will raise their hand and say, how old do I have to be to do this? could I do this tomorrow? And I say, well, not exactly, but talk to mom and dad. And then when you become 18, so it's really remarkable that, how things change, and you're learning every day. So it's important to keep that in mind. And just because you think you might be counted out for one reason or another doesn't mean that you are. So it's always good to do that research and to ask those questions, because you may very well still be able to save someone in a way that you never thought of.
You don't have to be a medical doctor.
Nope.
You don't have to know what can and can't be, and you don't have to go examining yourself and saying, well, I could donate this piece over here, and this knuckle here might be of some use, because I know someone who's having their knuckles transplanted because they have scleroderma, and their skin has shrunk, which happens in scleroderma, and they're going to have a knuckle transplant on all of their joints in their fingers so that they'll be able to open their hands again and hold on to their little kids and stuff like that.
And the doctors will decide.
They decide, exactly.
Right.
Sign your
Not
donor.
you.
Do the donor thing. Go and register, and let the medical people who know what they're talking about decide which bits they're going to use.
I was at an event where David Suzuki was the master of ceremonies at the ROM, and he was saying, well, I'm 80 years old. Who would ever want anything of mine? And this man, Keith Childerhouse, stood up and he said, I have the lungs of an 80-year-old. And he is still breathing with those lungs from, he was in his 40s, I think, when he got these lungs from an 80-year-old. He needed that lung transplant. So it's phenomenal. You think, oh, no, I'm too old, but you never know.
Well, my mom's 89 and she has the skin of a 20-year-old. It's unbelievable. Her skin is so good. I could use it now.
Apparently, the oldest organ donor is 92.
Wow.
And the oldest tissue donor was 104.
Wow.
Wow.
So,
that's
again,
amazing.
age,
Yes.
don't, oh, no, I'm too old. No, you're not.
Not necessarily.
And again, just do the beadonor.ca, sign up to be a donor, let the medical people decide. You won't have anything to do with it.
No.
And
we have a table tennis tournament in my son's memory every year for organ donation awareness. And one year a little boy, Brandon, came who had got a cornea transplant. He was like 6 years old. He'd just been riding his bike. A branch went into his eye. It almost killed him. It blinded him. But because of the cornea transplant, he now had the sight in his eye, and he came to our tournament.
Wow!
And, often recipients will come to our tournament. They'll hear about it, and they'll play table tennis against people who are not recipients, and the recipients always surprise the others. Wow, I just played against someone who had a heart transplant. Who would have guessed? But it was very heartwarming, this little boy, and he was so appreciative of having that. He was very sad because he knew a little child had passed to give him that cornea, but the child would have passed anyway.
That's right.
So
what a wonderful thing.
Wow.
That must warm your heart. I mean, the stories you must have now.
Yeah.
You should be writing a book.
I should write a book.
Come on, Heather.
Now it's your turn.
My husband keeps saying, we should write a book.
You should. Yeah, why not? Because sharing these stories is, that's the inspiration that I think makes people sometimes think, you know what, I'm going to get off my duff and sign and do this. Jay's been telling me for years. I've been doing a show. We did it once a year for the last 4 years. And I don't know, in the back of my mind, I kept thinking, no, I've signed my card. And now that the cards are no longer valid, it was because of my interview with Toby Boulay that I said, you know what? I can't talk to this man having not done the registration. And Jay's kind of looking at me like I had 4 heads, because I think he was thinking to himself, okay, I've been telling you that for the last 10 years, and you've got one interview, and all of a sudden you're doing it. Had nothing to do with you, Jay. Actually, it did, because I wouldn't even do this show if it wasn't for Jason.
That's right.
So that's how it works.
And
too,
I think that's what's important as well. And I think you definitely should work with your husband on a book, because it's so lovely for people like myself or recipients families to be able to have that in common with someone.
To share the stories.
Because, much like other things, unless you've had cancer, you don't know what it's like. Well, unless you've had a mom almost die several times, you don't know what it's like waiting for that organ. And so it's lovely
unless you
to be able
receive
to
that
meet
organ.
people. Exactly.
Right.
And you've
so to
woken
have
up with that feeling of
I'm feeling better.
I feel better. Yeah.
So to have that community is so amazing because not everybody understands it, rightfully so. But to be able to have people to share that with and they truly understand is just awesome.
And you digest the information in a book in a different way.
Yeah.
So you're in the privacy of your own home. I tend to read in bed, and you're absorbing the story. And it's your own personal time, and then you can deal with it in your own personal way. Mm-hmm. I happened to mention to Mr. Boulay that I had that I'd registered that morning, and he said, "Well, you're the first one today to tell me. Every day, I get at least 4 or 5 people who send me a message either by Twitter or social media saying, today I signed because of Logan." And he said, so today you're my first. And it's so nice. Thank you for signing because of Logan.
Yeah.
And it's a lovely thing. So I think if we all share our stories, even someone like me who has no personal experience with it, and hopefully I never have to, one way or the other, we all have something that we can share with everybody else to encourage people to be a donor. It's that simple.
It's the right thing to do.
It is the right thing to do.
And all is good.
And all is good. Thank you guys so much for coming on the show today. Thank you for being a part of it. We really appreciate you coming out and being a part of this movement, and we at Whistle are just so happy that we can also be a part of this movement. Anything we can do throughout the year, not even just an Organ Donation Awareness Month, but throughout the year, if you have something that you'd like to promote or an event that's coming up, give us a call. We'll do free PSAs. We'll get you on a show. You can tell the world or all our listenership about what's going on in the radio stations do PSAs, and they're free. They're free to promote any charitable organization. So give us a call.
That's great.
Yeah. And, unlike other large commercial stations that will play your PSA at 4 a.m., we play PSAs between 7 a.m. and 7 p.m. so that it's prime listening time, and they do get aired. So, so don't hesitate. Patty, thank you so much for stepping in for Jay this morning.
Not a problem.
Really appreciate your input and your help with the show. Ivan Harris, wherever you are, thanks for making the coffee and being a part of Fresh Waves. And Jason, we hope that you have a lovely morning and make the best of your morning. Everybody go out there and have a terrific day. Be a donor. Go to beadonor.ca, and then all will be well.
You've been listening to Fresh Waves, a Whistle FM production. I'm your host, Bren Masson, and our technical producer is Jason Rumball. Tune in every Wednesday at 10 a.m. for Fresh Waves here on Whistle FM, 102.9 on the FM dial and whistlefm.com anywhere in the world. Fresh Waves is available on podcast too. Just go to whistlefm.ca or freshwaves.ca. We podcast all of the Fresh Waves shows so that you can listen at your leisure. Fresh Waves. It really is fresh.